Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our morning Namaste session for Thursday. Oh, Friday. Today's Friday, right?
Friday.
Boy, the days just slip by, don't they? Hard to keep track, but when we realize there's only one thing to keep track of, it gets pretty simple. How simple is salvation? And that's what we're going to focus on, the simplicity of salvation, rather than getting caught in the trap of time. Is it Monday, Tuesday, Thursday? I have no idea. All I know is it's right now. I actually used to have a watch that instead of dials, I would look at it and would just say now. That helped me remember. So we are going to begin with the daily word session today, which is going to be a fun one, I believe. Let me read the beginning of it to you. The word we're focusing on is prosperity, but not prosperity necessarily in the sense of riches, but rather richness, not in terms of wealth, but well-being. To have a sense of divine richness that overwhelms everything of this silly made-up world that we seem to have claimed. So we're going to be sharing this line in a song, "The richness of life surrounds me." And I've put together a whole song on this, which shouldn't take too long for us to learn. Let me go ahead and put it up on the screen because I want you all to be able to see the words. There we go. So the richness of life surrounds me. The richness of life surrounds me. Prosperity is mine to claim every time. The richness of life surrounds me. So I'll sing this first part once, then I'm going to come back and sing it again so we can all jump right in. Okay? Here we go. The richness of life surrounds me. The richness of life surrounds me. Prosperity is mine to claim every time. The richness of life surrounds me now, surrounds me now. The richness of life surrounds me. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. I'm going to have you join me. Here we go. The richness of life surrounds me. The richness of life surrounds me. Beautiful. Prosperity is mine to claim every time. The richness of life surrounds me now, surrounds me now. The richness of life surrounds me. And now the richness of life is all around me. The richness of life is all around me. The richness of life is all around me. I'll find it everywhere when I open up to share. The richness of life is all around me now, around me now. The richness of life is all around me. Now the goodness of life surrounds me. The goodness of life surrounds me. The goodness of life surrounds me. I have opened my heart and mind. Now there's nothing left to find. For the richness of life surrounds me now, surrounds me now. The rich goodness of life surrounds me now, surrounds me now. Yes, the goodness of life surrounds me. surrounds me now. Can you feel that? Goodness all around us, surrounding us, filling us. So let's listen to the daily word. The richness of life surrounds me. Prosperity is mine to claim every time I notice the overflowing blessings around me. If my narrow definition of prosperity limits its meaning to material wealth alone, I risk missing the richness of life. I can find prosperity everywhere. The more I am able to see, the more I will discover. Perhaps I am rich in friendship, or I experience a burst or outpouring of creativity. I may notice the bounty of beauty in nature, or feel the unconditional love of a beloved pet. I might enjoy the luxury of a moment of stillness during a busy time, or the sensory richness of a delicious meal. When I open my mind and heart to the world around me, I become ever aware of how I abound in prosperity. And from the Gospel of John, do not say, 4 months more, then comes the harvest. Or rather, do you say, 4 months more, then comes the harvest? But I tell you, look around you and see how the fields are ripe for harvesting. Let's maybe sing that first part one more time. The richness of life surrounds me. A little slower this time. The richness of life surrounds me. The richness of life surrounds me. Prosperity is mine to claim every time. The richness of life surrounds me now, surrounds me now. The richness of life surrounds me now. I love this lesson. I talk often, actually, about the difference between richness and riches, and goodness or goodness, goods or goodness, rather. In fact, I just started working on a new book, which I didn't think I was going to do, but sometimes these things just spring out of me and I have no choice. And it's going to be called The Goodness Experiment. How do we use a 3,500-year-old technology, deep spiritual technology, to increase the goodness of our lives, rather than just trying to use things like the law of attraction to attract goods? Now, many of you may recognize this as an extension of the Moses Code, because that is exactly what it is. But to amplify the goodness, to amplify the richness, rather than focusing on goods or riches, physical things in a world that does nothing more than claim us and bind us and wrap chains around us until we can't move. That's what you designed this world to be. When I say you, I don't mean that that's what God made it to be. Whatever God is, this all-encompassing force of goodness and love, certainly did not create this world to be a chain or a prison, something that you would wrap around yourself so that you would never experience the full extension of love, which is what you are. That's what you did. And why would you do that? Well, the answer is obviously to avoid, to run from that experience. We always seem to be running toward into a relationship or whatever it may be, some temporary fulfillment. But then we miss the real lesson, which is that I am that. And this is where goodness it eclipses goods, and when richness eclipses riches. That, I think, is really the key, to seek the goodness of God, the richness of God, the richness of love that is all around us every moment, filling us every moment. So that's what we're going to focus on today. It's nice to begin with a song that'll hopefully get stuck in our heads, that we can walk around. Surrounds me. But I'm going to turn it over to Vicky now, because I know this is something that is dear to her heart as well, the goodness and the richness of love. So good morning, Vicky.
Good morning, Jimmy. Good morning, everyone. And, of course,
I think you're muted.
Oops. Okay, hold on. No, I'm not muted.
Oh, hold on.
We can hear her.
Oh, thank you, Storm.
Okay, we should be able to hear you now.
Now?
I hear
okay,
you,
Jimmy?
Vicky.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Can you hear me, Jimmy? Does he hear me? I don't know. Do you hear me, Jimmy? Zoom hears me. No?
You're not muted, but I'm not hearing you on my computer, no. Vicky.
Okay.
1 second. Oh, I think I know why. One moment.
Can you hear me, Jimmy?
That's not the reason. Okay, Vicky, talk now. That should do it.
Okay, Jimmy, have you got me now?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Good morning to everybody. And, I always go back to the source. So the goodness has to be streaming forth from us. That's where goodness originates. It's that source within us, that peace that we talked about the other day. And then when we appreciate it as all around us, we're not separate from it anymore. We get to really enjoy it and let it multiply. So the appreciation of what has come through us and what we continue to give, and recognizing it in everyone and everything, amplifies it, at least in my own life, and I think for all of us. And that if I'm seeing any lack anywhere, it's that signal to celebrate more, to bless more, to appreciate more, and to give more, to share more. So, and in the sharing is where all the joy is. When you have a gift, you can't wait to give it to someone. The other day, when we were cleaning out the house, there was this beautiful mink coat that was my aunt's, in perfect condition. She'd bought it at a fancy store in Boston, Bonwood Tellers. And I couldn't wait to get down to, we have a little Vietnamese dressmaker, Lily, who just loves elegant, lovely things. And it was like, oh my gosh, I was like beside myself to bring her this mink coat. And she was just so flipped out. And it's in perfect condition, perfect, beautiful, tailored, lovely. She's petite, but the joy was in the sharing. And isn't that where it always is? Isn't that where it amplifies? And when we focus on only that and let everything else be just, a call for help. Someone didn't remember that goodness flows from them and is all around them. And when we remember that for each other, it ends up coming back over us and all around us to everyone else too. It's really quite simple. Appreciation and letting the source, when we feel stuck or dry for a moment on the outside, making that space of quiet open within us so that the source can be, reactivated within us. Then appreciate it as we see it around us, appreciate it everywhere, share it. That's what life is for. That must be the state of the Garden of Eden. It must be the state of our original world that has been given to us. on the invisible level that shows up visibly as everything around us, the birds and the bees and the trees, and most importantly, each other. To enjoy the sharing of space and time together with our bodies, without our bodies, but enjoy it all and share it all. So good reading. Just remembering always that the source is within us. We don't claim it by taking it from outside of us. We claim it by opening up and letting it pour forth through us. The hidden splendor. Let that splendor out. And then appreciate it, enjoy it, and let it amplify and magnify, and let everything be a celebration of having and giving, and more follows, because that's the law. What we appreciate multiplies. What we share when we break the loaves, if it's one loaf or 10 loaves or 10 fish, when we share it, it's endless. So thank you for sharing the love of that we are. That's all we're doing here. It's all everyone does here. That's what we do every day.
Thank you, Vicky. I'm so glad that you brought up the loaves and fishes, because that's exactly what it is. When we share what seems like the little that we have, it multiplies. And there was a discussion going on here this morning about God. What is God? Who is God? Well, the only thing I know for sure is that if I'm going to experience that, I need to act as God. And what God only does is give everything away. God gives everything away. And when I'm willing to do the same, to become the source of goodness to everyone around me in every moment, not to try and take anything. You see, this is the difference between the law of attraction of the ego and the law of attraction of the soul. Both have a mantra. I say this a lot. The mantra of the ego is I want, and the mantra of the soul is I am. And the more I give away that which I am, the more I realize who I am, the more that I am presence is amplified within me, fills me, overflows from me into the world. So if I want to experience the reality that we sometimes call God, that's how we do it, by giving it all away. And it's so simple. I'm glad we started off our talk today talking about the simplicity of salvation, because that really is very simple. Thank you, Vicky. How about you, Teddy? What would you like to share about this?
Well, God only gives, and we are God giving, so as to receive what He gives, so as for us to give. And the ego is, like you said, it's a getting mechanism. Um, we're talking about the goodness and the richness of life. I'm sort of like stunned. Number one is I got two calls this morning, both old friends of yours, Jimmy. Amazing call. And we talked for about an hour. He said to say hello, and then Josh called, and and Josh wants to talk to me about a bunch of stuff too. So to me, like that's the richest of life. These old friends calling, and we're all involved in the same stuff. They're meeting down in Australia. Josh has got it happening down in Brazil. And it's all around the same thing. Everybody's had an experience, and in order to give the experience away, they learn to do it in the way in which they are given to do it. It's really sort of an incredible process. And like you say, once that occurs, there is nothing in the world. There is nothing in the world that takes the place of knowing who we are and recognizing, our function in the plan for salvation. And that's what we continue to do here, joining together with our brothers and our sisters, and using any excuse we have just to come together and join for a second in single purpose, recognizing each other, and then going about our day with a new frame of reference and a new mind. And that's important. So, yep, old friends calling around, and there's lots of stuff going on, and everybody wants to say hello to Jimmy. James, the James,
Jimmy James.
Jimmy James. So that's what all I got to say.
Well, there is this irresistible cascade of energy that comes when we begin to give, when we become the source of that, and it increases, and then others join. It's like starting off as a tiny stream, and then before you know it, more streams come together, and then more until it becomes a mighty river rushing toward the infinite ocean of grace. What more could we ever want but to join? That's why we come together here every day, is we join. It's like the stream of Bethel, the stream of Christine, the stream of all of us coming together. And before we know it, the energy is so great that it's irresistible. The current is irresistible. And it pulls us, it draws us. There's nothing we can do but surrender. If you are ever in a river that has that mighty current, you're not going to win. You're not going to win this battle. All you can do is surrender to that current and trust that this current knows where to take you. And it does. The current always knows where you need to go, much more than I could in my limited identity. So just jump in that river, join with your dear beloved mighty companions, and let's go. Ted, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, I was going to say that's, what you're talking about is exactly the reason why, part of the function that I have is with the sparkly, and I see Annie was on too, and she just got found the case down there in Australia of the old sparklies, and she's giving them away. Part of the function that Jesus asked me to do was print up A Course in Miracles in the particular form, and just to give it away, and that's what we've been doing for years. We've given away over 20,000 of them now. And we're trying to figure out another way to do it along with Helen's notes, because I think people are ready to read Helen's notes directly about stuff that they weren't prepared for earlier. So we're making that available, and we're giving it away as best we can to as many people as we can. And that's sort of how I function here. That's, and it's my joy to be able to give these things to people. And when they read them, they're impressed. I got a message this morning from somebody else in Australia, and it was one of the kids. It was from one of the kids who used to just hang around with Teddy. When she just heard a teaching one time when she was, probably 5 or 6 years old, and the teaching it was the first two lessons. Nothing I see means everything, and I give everything I see all the meaning that I have. She uses that now as a meditation, and she had this 7-minute talk, which taught it better than I ever could, about opening her mind and seeing the beauty exactly as it is without the need to define anything. So, it works if you work it. And those are the kind of things that, that gives back to me everything that I was given to give. That's how I receive.
Just give it all away. Pretty simple. It reminds me of a story that one of my heroes is Dorothy Day. And she used to say, let's say you need to get from New York to Chicago, and the ticket costs $100, and you only have 20. What do? She said, well, you go give that away, and you just give it to someone, and you say to Holy Spirit, that's not enough. I need 100. And so you give it away, and then let's say before long, somehow you have $50. And you go to Holy Spirit, you say, that's not enough. And you give it away. You give it to someone who needs it more than you. And then before you know it, there are $80 in your pocket. And once again, you go back to Holy Spirit and say, that's not enough. I need 100. And you give the 80 away until finally 100 comes to you. Now, that makes no sense. And that's what I like about it. It makes no sense, because to the ego, the truth makes no sense. The art of giving everything away, just as to the soul, the ego's ideas make no sense. So don't try and put new wine into old wineskins. Just let the experience be new. Let it be rich. Let it be vibrant. That's all you need to do. We don't need to try and figure it out. Just give it all away. Trust that. I think that does it. Anything else you guys want to add? All right. Well, what a week. Vicky, Teddy, thanks. We do have a couple of minutes left before we go. And I totally forgot on Wednesday that was our open up to the community day. So if there's anyone who wants to speak specifically on this subject, we don't want to stray away from it, but all about the art of giving everything away. If there's anyone who'd like to share anything, go ahead and either unmute yourself or just raise your hand. Oh, there's Baraka. Good morning to you, dear one. I was just thinking about you today. What would you like to share today, brother?
Well, a little story that involves you, kind of. Um, in St. Petersburg, you came and gave the concert, the peace concert, and then left. And almost the very next day was 9/11. And so I decided, or we decided that I was going to come out and help support you in your efforts out on the West Coast. But I didn't have the money to make the move, so I went to the Unity Church where you had done the concert, and I said, went to the pastor and I said, I don't, I need money to be able to make this move. And he says, how much do you want? I said, $600. And so the following Sunday,
Love it.
I was allowed to sing a solo for the congregation, and at the end, the pastor said, um, uh, I was going to be making this move out, and that anyone who would like to show their appreciation afterwards, that I would be in the lobby in the vestibule. Well, people started coming up and giving me money, and when it was all over, I had exactly $600. I really wish I'd gone for 1,000. Oh well.
I love it.
That's great. I love stories like that. Thank you, Baraka. Leslie, I see you unmuted yourself. What would you like to share?
Thank you. I hadn't thought about this in this way, but in the early 80s, I had a roommate and we had a huge fight. We were yelling at each other and it wasn't going anywhere to resolve it on either end. And I finally needed to get her out of my room, kind of a little bit physically. And I closed the door and I was breathing really hard and I was really, really upset. And I knew I had to go to sleep and I knew I couldn't, feeling the way I did. So I sat in bed, and what occurred to me is to send her love. And so I just sat there saying, I love you. And, it was way before the course. So I didn't have the tools, but just saying, I love you over and over in my mind. And then my whole system started quieting down. And in a few minutes, I heard this very light knock on my door. And I went over and opened it. And my friend said, I'm sorry. And I said, I'm sorry. And we both, said, I love you. And that was it. It was like magic. I only did it to calm myself down, but it occurred to me to send her love. And so, I know that was spirit intervening or just, yeah. So thank you.
Wow. Great example. Thank you, Leslie.
My pleasure. Thank you.
How about one more? Is there anyone else who would like to share before we end our week together? I'm scanning to see. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to call on Sharon. I always love when Sharon goes. Good morning, Sharon.
Good morning. Good morning. Am I too loud? First of all, I turned down my volume a little bit.
No, not
Can
at
you
all.
hear me?
You're perfect.
Thank you. I feel the need to express this one. I have a Wednesday work group, of Course in Miracles students, and a newcomer projected on me severely, and I knew it was a projection. She called me. I was a preacher. That she, who am I to, blah, 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 that I'm terrible person, that I'm selfish, that it was just, it could have devastated me. And I felt it. And I thought, no, wait, just breathe. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. I am as God created me. And so I said, because you say this does not make it true. I am the Holy Son of God. And it was unbelievable, the feeling. I thought, bless this woman. She gave me the opportunity to experience it. It's like throwing it against the wall and seeing how it works, and it works. I stayed in it. I knew who I was, and I saw it clearly. So blessing it, even experiences that come at us as seemingly bad, are perfect too. We're led on this river, just like you said, to exactly where we need to strengthen. And so, like a tree that is blown by the wind and hurricanes, that trunk gets stronger and knows it is a strong tree and strengthens. So the bark becomes, the story. So yeah, thanks for calling on me. That was amazing. I really want to share that. Oh,
Teddy always talks about the sparkle edition of A Course in Miracles. And for me, the sparkle is just seeing and feeling in your guys' eyes when I'm looking at all the pictures, and I can see one person sparkling, and Sharon, you sparkle really well. So I'm glad. And we all do. That's all we're here to do, is sparkle together. And this is simple. Just give it all away. That's the key. Be the source of that which you seek. You can't give something unless it's yours to give. If you feel the need for something, you need more love in your life, more energy, whatever it may be the source of that to someone else. And you'll realize it's always been yours. And that's the most practical advice we can give. It's also the holiest advice we can give, because it brings us into our wholeness. It brings us together into our oneness. And that's it. So thank you, everyone. And we're going to close by experiencing that wholeness one more time in this beautiful prayer that we share every day. Let me go ahead and share the screen, and I'll invite you to let this shine from your heart into the world. Here we go. I am the holy, perfect child of God, complete and healed and whole, shining in the reflection of God's love. In me is creation sanctified and guaranteed eternal life. In me is love perfected, fear impossible, and joy established without opposite. I am the holy home of love itself. I am the heaven where love resides. I am God's holy sinlessness itself, for in my purity abides God's own. And so it is. Thank you, everyone, for a beautiful week. Thank you, Vicki and Teddy, and all of you who shared. I love you so much. Thanks to
I
our
love
beautiful
you.
Namaste. We forgot to do our prayers
Thank
on
you
the
all.
altar, but let's just hold our prayers in our hearts. We'll just radiate them together through this holy joining. We lift them up to the altar. And we know that all of our concerns have been answered even before we ask, because we have a loving source expressing and extending love in every moment. And we trust this. And so it is.
So it is.
We'll see you guys on Sunday. And just to remind you, if you're watching this live or the recording, we start an hour later, starting on Sunday. So it'll be starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll see you then.
Thank you, everybody. I love you.
Bye.
Love you too.
Mwah.
Love you all. Bye.